you doing down here? Come on, we'll miss lunch.
I was just looking at this plaque. I've never noticed it before. It says Charles and Mary Booth lived here.
Who are they? I've never heard of them.
Well, they must have been important to have a plaque put on the wall.
So what? Come on, I want lunch.
We need to choose someone to find out about for our local history project. Why don't we choose them?
Oh, I don't know. They might be really boring. I'm not very interested in people who lived here in the past. Why can't we do something about the people living today?
Well, it doesn't sound very interesting, but it's a history project, so we have to choose something from the past.
Why don't we just Google them and find out a bit more about them, then decide?
Okay, but can we do it after lunch? I'm hungry. Wow, look at that. A photo of Charles Booth and his family in the steps of Grace Dieu Manor in 1902. Wow, where's it taken? Can you tell?
It's the steps on the chapel playground side. Wow, he certainly had a big family. Look at them all. But where are the children? There's only one baby.
Perhaps those grown-ups are his children. He looks quite old. They were probably adults by then, and the baby could be a grandchild.
What does it say about them? Scroll down a bit.
Charles Booth was one of those remarkable English Victorians who can justly be described as one of the great and good.
But why? What did he do? That's what we're going to find out. Scroll down a bit, there's loads of stuff here. Just think, they lived in this very house all those years ago. Our classroom could have been their bedroom. I wonder how much the house has changed since then. I suppose they had lots of servants. When did it say they first came here?
In the late spring of 1886. Apparently their house had been empty for a few years and it was damp and run down, but Charles had fallen in love with the ground. He loved the woods.
I bet Mrs. Booth wasn't too pleased when they arrived and she saw the state of the house.
Yet another leak. I thought the roof had been repaired.
I'm sorry, Mary. I'll get someone to come and look at it straight away. I'm sorry if the house is a bit of a disappointment, Mary, but I'm sure it'll be lovely when it's all in good order again. When I first saw it, I fell in love with the grounds. The woods are so beautiful and peaceful. Such a change from London and Liverpool.
We can't live in the woods, Charles.
No, of course not, but the children will love them. Where are the children, anyway?
Imogen, Margaret and George are in the nursery with Nanny Ellen. Tom's outside somewhere.
And Dodo?
Antonia? I think she went to the kitchen to see what Cook's got us for lunch.
I was just coming to tell you about an idea I've had. You see, I don't think we should be selfish and keep these lovely woods to ourselves. I want to open them up to anyone who wants to come and enjoy them.
Anyone?
Yes, you know, the local people from the village. Let them enjoy it too.
It would be nice, but I don't think it would please the gamekeeper. We'll have to see if it can be done.
Yes, of course. It will be one of the first things I look into when I get back.
Back from where?
I was coming to that. I've got some bad news. The head of one of our businesses in New York has just died, and I'll have to go over there and sort out his affairs and see what is to be done.
Oh, Charles, must you go when I need you here? It will be such a tiring trip. I worry that your health may suffer again.
It can't be helped, my dear, but don't worry. I won't stay long. I will certainly be back long before the baby is due. Frankly, I can't wait to get back and get to work on my great project. I've arranged to meet with the school board man, Mather, as soon as I get back, so we can get started.
The school board man? Why is that?
I need to know more about the really poor people in London's East End. We need to know how many more people are living in such dire poverty. You know, struggling to even afford the really basic essentials. I've looked at the census returns, but they don't tell us what we want to know. I think the school inspector's report will be more useful.
Well, let's hope so, my dear.
Please, sir, ma'am, Cook says lunch is ready.
Thank you, Kate. Come now, my dear. Let's go and see what Cook has managed to rustle up for us.
this is what I've written so far. I must say, I have been shocked at how many people are living in such dire poverty. It really is a national disgrace. I hope to publish this volume by the end of this year, or early next, but I think there will be many more volumes after this one.
Where do you see it going from here, Charles?
So far, we have only looked at the East End of London. I want to spread out and cover all of London. We need to see how many more people are living such wretched lives before we can even think what can be done about it.
It's an ambitious plan, Charles.
Yes, I know, but I know you'll be with me all the way, my dear. Mary has been such a help, redrafting and correcting my poor efforts.
They're not poor efforts at all. It is true, I've gone over all your writing most carefully, but it cannot be denied you have achieved something remarkable here. May I make a suggestion?
Please do.
Some of these tables are very difficult to understand. I'm afraid they may have little impact on people. How about we try something more, visual?
What did you have in mind?
Perhaps we could colour in the streets to show our classifications. For example, here along the Whitechapel High Street, these are quite well-to-do families. These houses could be red, but those behind belong to the poorest people. They could be a different colour.
Yes, and other classes could be other colours.
I like the idea very much. I'll get to work on it. You know, every district has its own character, some charm or another, despite the poverty. The rush of human life is fascinating to watch, like the current of a river.
Yes, but I still feel something is missing.
What's that, Beatrice?
I want to know what it feels like to have to stand at the dock gates every day in the frost and rain, hoping you'll get work that day. Hoping you'll be able to take home some small amount of money, knowing that you have a house full of hungry children waiting at home. Do you know what I mean?
I do indeed.
So I have decided what I will do. I will learn how to sweat. I'm going to get myself apprenticed as a tailoring hand at the East End.
It will be hard work, Beatrice.
And I'm not afraid of that. Do you remember that time when I went to work in a Lancashire cotton mill? No one guessed that it didn't actually come from a working class family.
Good for you, Bee. I have it in mind to do something similar myself. I intend to take lodgings with some of the poorest folk in the East End and see for myself what their lives are like.
You'll have to be incognito.
Oh yes, I have no intention of letting them know who I really am.
Well, I do admire you both. I will have to stay here for the children's sake, but there are poor people outside of London, in Ashby and on nearby villages. I want to do something to help them. I will make a start by inviting women from Thringstone to sit with me to chat and sew, perhaps learn to read a little. That way I will get to know them better.
Thank you, Pa. Sir, ma'am. The children would like to say goodnight to you. Would you come up to the nursery to see them?
Oh, Nanny, would it be alright if I came up too? I haven't seen them today.
Of course.
Then we'll all go. Come along.
Wow, did he really cover all of London?
Not all of it, but a huge area. Zoom in, Emma. Let's have a closer look.
Look how detailed it is. You can almost see the individual houses. It must have taken years to do all this. What do all the different colours in the streets mean?
Well, there's a list here. Red and orange are wealthy, well-to-do. Black and grey are poor, vicious and semi-criminal.
What? Find one of the black streets. Let's have a look at it.
I wonder what it was like.
Or if it's the same today.
I shouldn't think so. But look, what's that slider for at the bottom of the screen?
Let's see.
It looks like everything's gone. Have a look on Street View.
Well, it certainly looks different.
Yes, but I wonder what it was like to live there when Charles Booth was alive. I want to find out more about it.
Good evening. I'm looking for a room to rent, and I see that you have a vacancy.
Yes, dearie, come in.
So, what do you think, dearie? Will it suit?
I think it will do very well, Mrs. Mason. 4 shillings a week, won't you say?
Yes, and you can take your meals down here with us. It won't be anything fancy, mind, but it keeps us going. Can I get you a cup of tea now, dearie?
Lovely, thank you.
Sit yourself down then.
Hello, I'm Charles Smith. Mr. Mason, I take it.
That's right.
Have you lived here long?
Born and bred here. Lived here all my life.
But he's been about a bit, Mr. Smith. Travelled the world as Mr. Mason.
Yeah, I was a sailor, you see. Merchant Navy. Seen a few different places in my time. Of course, not now though. Decided a few years back to settle down. Not far in the old trouble.
Trouble?
Trouble and strife. Wife? Not from round here, are you?
No, Liverpool was my home.
Liverpool. Sailed out to there a few times. Not now though.
He's a house painter now, Mr. Smith. Pretty steady job. Better than standing at the dock gates every morning hoping to get a day's work. It's getting late. I wonder where our Jenny's got to.
Jenny?
Me daughter. Well, not a real daughter. We took her in about 2 years back when her parents died.
That was very kind of you. I take it her parents are from your family?
No, we're just neighbours, but we couldn't see her sent to the workhouse like their granddad.
Yes, poor old chap, but that's what happens when you get old and you can't manage, especially if you've got no family to help. We might even end up there too when we're old.
That's dreadful.
Beg pardon, ma'am, but a letter has arrived from London.
Who's it from? Is it from Father?
I believe so, Master Thomas, and it's addressed to you and Miss Antonia.
It is, Mother. It's from Father.
Read it out, dear. That'll be all, thank you, Kate.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dear Dodo and Tom, I've been here in Chester Court for a week now, and I'm starting to get used to the life here. My room is about 9 foot square, so the bed takes up about half of it. It's quite comfortable, apart from the fleas, which are not taken very seriously by this class of people, I'm afraid. We have no bathroom, of course. The family bathe only occasionally, and then in a tin bath in front of the fire. The only lavatory is a privy in the yard, which we share with the neighbours.
Let me read some of it.
Yes, you let her have a turn, Tom.
Mr. Mason goes out at 5:30 in the morning for his work and gets back at 6:30. He takes with him a packet of bread and butter for breakfast, and he gets coffee and a relish at the coffee house nearest to where he is working. What's relish?
I don't know, dear, but do go on.
He takes his dinner there too, except on Saturdays and Sundays when there is plenty of food in the house, which I am allowed to share. He takes no supper. He says he doesn't hold with suppers. I take my breakfast and supper in the kitchen, rather simple meals. Mr. Rowley next door also gets up early and often comes home drunk. This is what you'll be working on next.
When's Mr. Booth home again, ma'am?
I'm not sure, Lucy. He's so busy with his work in London.
What's he working on now, ma'am?
He's particularly determined to help the aged poor. He believes they should be given pensions by the government.
Oh my goodness, imagine that! Where would he get the money?
From the rich, I suppose. They've got plenty to spare.
Well, from the general taxation, I suppose. He believes if very old people could be given a small pension, it would mean that they could stay in their own homes and not go to the workhouse.
Oh, that would be a blessing. Old Joseph, who lived in the village near us, ended his old days in the Ashby workhouse. He just couldn't manage when his Anna died and had no kiddies of his own.
Let's hope Mr. Booth can do something to get this pension idea through then.
There are so many people against it, I'm afraid. They think giving money to the poor will make them idle and burden, but keeping people in their own homes will be cheaper than keeping them in a workhouse, and a lot more humane, if only they would realise that.
Good luck to Mr. Booth, I say. He's a good man, there's no doubting about that.
And he never gives up on a worthwhile cause. He'll fight on whatever the opposition. There's no doubting that either. So did Charles ever convince people to give old people pensions?
Yes, but it took years. The Pensions Act was passed in 1908, 17 years later.
Does it say anything else?
To get the pension, you had to be over 70 and a good person.
How much did they get?
They got 5 shillings a week.
How much is that? I don't understand old money.
Wait, I'll look it up. Hang on.
25p!
What? That can't be right.
And it was only people who earned less than £31, 10 shillings a year, who got that pension.
A year? My gran gets over £100 a week.
Well, she's got Charles Booth to thank for that. Without him, she might be getting nothing at all.
So did Charles ever finish the survey of the London poor?
Yes, but it took years, nearly 20 years, to finish the survey. Charles did lots of other things too. Started the Grace Dieu Cricket Club, helped to start the Whittick and Fringstone Nursing Association, bought a car for the local doctor, built cottages for the gardener, the butler and the chauffeur.
Ah, Mary, my dear, I've got something to show you. Who are you waving at?
It's the ladies of my mother's meeting. They were just leaving. What is it you want to show me?
Well, my dear, you do so much for the village ladies, and now that my great survey is almost finished, I thought I'd do something for the men. And I think I found just the thing. There's a house in the village that is up for sale or let, and I think it will make a great clubhouse for the men. We could have a meetings room, a readings room with newspapers, maybe even a games room.
Wonderful, and perhaps my ladies can meet there too.
We'll have to see, but I'm going to make further inquiries. I'm sorry that my wife cannot be here tonight, but she is suffering from bronchitis. Nothing too serious, I assure you, but she sends you all her good wishes. And now, it gives me great pleasure to declare this new extension to the Thringstone Institute open. I would just like to express my sincere thanks, and that of the whole village, to Mr. Booth and his family for providing this wonderful building for our use. As we all know, Mr. Booth presented the original Thringstone house some 10 years ago, and it has been very well used. Now, thanks to his generosity, we have a splendid hall, and downstairs we have a billiard room and card room too. I am sure that everyone here will agree with me when I say that the name of Mr. Booth will never be forgotten in this village.
During the First World War, Charles Booth returned to his shipping business to help with the war effort. His 3 sons became officers in the armed forces to serve their country.
In May 1916, Charles suffered a seizure and was unwell all summer. He died on the 23rd of November 1916, aged 76, and is buried in St Andrew's Churchyard, Brixton.
He is remembered as a great philanthropist for his great survey of poverty in London, which was published in many volumes, for his poverty maps, for his efforts to get old people pensions, and his many charitable works and generosity to the people of Thringstone and Grace Dieu.
But we should not forget that Mary Booth also played a very big part in all these good works and helped Charles to write his books. She lived in Grace Dieu Manor until 1933, when she moved into a cottage in the grounds. The manor was bought by Ratcliffe College and it became our school. Mary died in the summer of 1939, aged 92.